It's 8 o'clock. This is the UK Tonight. Coming up, the illegal casinos targeting British children online. Sky News first investigated the firms 18 months ago and found they were allowing huge amounts of money to be gambled on the Roblox platform, even when users admitted they were underage. A number of them were subsequently shut down, but Weeka revealed that others have popped up in their place, and one returned under the exact same name. We'll have a special report from our technology reporter, Mickey Carroll, and we'll discuss the government's plans to tackle online harms, with reports today suggesting ministers will stop short of imposing a blanket ban on social media for under-16s. Also tonight, a family's heartbreaking tribute after their son drowned during the heatwave. 12-year-old Junior Slater was one of 9 people to die in accidents in the water in the UK and Ireland since the bank holiday weekend. His family calling him their little blue-eyed boy who was the life and soul of their lives. Plus, resident doctors announce 4 days of strike action next month as the new Health Secretary's relationship with the union gets off to a rocky start. And crashes for cash, the fraudsters targeting innocent drivers with more than 9,000 scams reported last year. All that to come and much more on the UK Tonight. "18 months ago, Sky News revealed children using the gaming platform Roblox were being lured into gambling by illegal casinos. In response to our investigation, both Roblox and the Gambling Commission said they were taking action, and a number of those firms were closed down. But we've learned that the practice is still very much a problem on the platform, even when users freely admit that they are underage. Our science and technology reporter, Mickey Carroll, has this special report.
Roblox prides itself on letting children be anything they can imagine. Well, over a year ago, we reported that illegal casinos were targeting the game's young users and letting them gamble. Some of these children were betting hundreds of thousands of pounds worth of Roblox money. And Roblox told us at the time it was taking numerous steps to shut the casinos down. But when we checked in on how that was going, we found this. A plethora of casinos, some old, some new, all luring young Roblox users into gambling. On the chat rooms linked to the casinos, users openly admit they're underage, but their accounts remain active. Some are just 13 years old. These casinos advertise to Roblox users on social media and then ask them to log into the casino with their Roblox credentials. From that point on, they can gamble with their Roblox currency, which is bought using real money. Some casinos allow users to withdraw any winnings as Roblox items, others will let them be withdrawn as cryptocurrency. This isn't necessarily new. We found similar problems the last time we investigated, and that's exactly the issue. It seems that nothing has changed.
The fact that nothing's changed, I think I blame the unlicensed casinos, obviously, should shoulder the clear blame. But they're going to act in this way. So really what's more surprising and more saddening is that our statutory regulator, the Gambling Commission, hasn't done more to stop them. I think Roblox also has to shoulder some of the blame in this instance because it's providing what's effectively a cryptocurrency and allowing it to be used elsewhere outside of its website and not taking serious enough action to protect its customers, who are largely young people.
Roblox hasn't responded to our request for comment, but sources at the company told me it's playing whack-a-mole with these casinos, which are actually pretty bad for its reputation. It wants more support from regulators and law enforcement because it says while it can control what happens on its platform, it can't control what happens away from it. Around 1.5 million Britons are staking £2.7 million in illegal casinos every year. But catching illegal gambling in a physical casino is very different to catching it online. Websites illegally targeting people in the UK often hold licences abroad in several countries. And even if they're licensed somewhere like Curacao, which is a hotspot for these kind of casinos, that doesn't necessarily mean the people running the business actually live there. So finding the root of these businesses to shut them down permanently can be really tricky. Now, the Gambling Commission is working on better coordination with other countries' regulators. But the most effective thing it can do at the moment is to try and stop UK users from accessing these websites. And there are a few ways it does this. The most recent data shows it referred over 900 websites to search engines,
so they'd stop appearing in search results. That resulted in nearly 780 being actually removed. It sent cease and desist letters to nearly 250 people advertising illegal casinos, with 88 of them actually stopping. And it contacted the companies hosting these illegal websites 442 times to tell them about the illegal activity, although this only resulted in 53 websites actually being removed. In our investigation, though, we saw that the most common step these casinos took to stop UK users from gambling with them was a geo-block, where the site can tell where you're based and block you based on your location. The Gambling Commission sent nearly 500 cease and desist letters to illegal casino operators in a year, telling them to stop allowing UK users to gamble on their sites. And that's where the geo-blocks come in. Those cease and desist letters resulted in nearly 230 sites blocking access for people in the UK. And once those blocks are in place, an illegal casino might look like this in another country, but only show an error page in the UK. Now, the problem is that's pretty easily circumvented using virtual private networks, or VPNs. And we've seen evidence of staff at one of these Roblox casinos encouraging their users to bypass those blocks using VPNs.
For the people campaigning to stop this kind of illegal activity, it's a familiar problem, and one that seems to be intensifying.
It's become quite commonplace amongst children, of 7 years and upwards, to actually now be gambling in that sense, and that is mad.
Sir Ian Duncan-Smith says these casinos target children because then they can create lifelong habits.
If you get children used to gambling their cash, then all that happens is it gets worse in later life.
The Gambling Commission told us they'd been in touch with Roblox about the casinos we found. The Commission's spokesperson said criminals running unlicensed websites are unscrupulous. They simply don't care about offering gambling to children or vulnerable adults. This is why we take reports of illegal sites extremely seriously and are already taking action against those flagged by Sky News. Right now, the people trying to stop these casinos are playing whack-a-mole. The problem is, while they're trying to catch up, it's children that are being harmed. Mickey Carroll, Sky News.
Well, following our investigation, one of the casinos, Rollbet, has shut down to all users, while another, Blocks Flip, has banned UK users from its site. And responding to Mickey's report, Roblox told us it firmly prohibits all simulated and actual gambling activities on our platform. And players are prohibited from engaging in off-platform secondary market transaction for Roblox items or Robux. Websites like these are in no way endorsed or authorised by Roblox, and we take numerous steps to disrupt their activity, taking action against associated accounts, as well as filtering out references to these sites across our platform. Let's bring you some breaking news from the federal court in Los Angeles. The personal assistant of Friends star Matthew Perry, 6-year-old Kenneth Iwamasa, has been sentenced to 3 years and 5 months in prison for his role in the actor's death. A judge ruling that Iwamasa had a central role in the actor's ketamine addiction and injected him with the fatal dose. This is the final sentencing in this prosecution, an investigation that has lasted 2.5 years. There have been 5 sentences handed down in total to those involved in the star's drug-related deaths. So that is the personal assistant of Friends star Matthew Perry, sentenced to 3 years and 5 months in prison for his role in the actor's death. Now, it's been reported that the UK is not expected to follow Australia and impose a blanket social media ban for under 16. Industry insiders reportedly believe that the government will put restrictions on features like infinite scrolling and autoplay, badging the measures as a ban on harmful social media. Well, social media consultant and industry analyst Matt Navarra joins me now. Matt, what do you make of this potential move by the government? I sat here with 2 bereaved parents last night, Lisa Kenovan and Ellen Room, who are adamant that a ban should come in to stop families losing young lives as they lost their sons. Do you think this current form of action is far enough?
I have to approach it as a parent. You know, if I was in that situation, I would probably feel much the same. But I do think that, you know, there shouldn't be this choice between doing nothing and banning all teens from all social media. There is a lot of nuance in it. And I do think that the government's approach to trying to learn from the Australian model and look at kind of the detail and seek expert opinion and consult on it is the right thing to do. I think the biggest criticism of all of this is it's taken them so long and they've relied too much on, you know, voluntary action by the platforms, which has never been successful. But a blanket ban does sound attractive because it's simple, but digital lives for children is not simple. You know, they use it for friendships, for school, for identity, and all sorts of things. So a total ban does push the risk that young people will be in less visible places, less moderated, anonymous accounts, VPN workarounds, and all of those sorts of problems. So I think that's why there needs to be this level of nuance in it, but it should have been done a long time ago.
Yeah, I mean, this phrasing that the government will look at sort of restricting harmful social media, how do you determine which social media platforms and features are harmful and which ones are not?
And that is the very hard element of it, but it is the bit that they need to figure out. And that's why I think the consultation part of it is important. I think generally most social media platforms have a lot of similarities in terms of the features, the addictive features that people think of, the infinite scroll, the autoplay, algorithmic rabbit holes, and a whole list of things. And these are some of the things that they're trying to tackle to kind of get a benchmark of what are these features are the ones to tackle, because you can't content moderate a design problem, which is what some of this is. And most of the stuff to do with content moderation, which in itself is very subjective and controversial, is very reactive. When once people have seen the content and teens have been exposed to some of this stuff, the damage is often done or has began to happen. So I think it's challenging, but I think they're on the right track. I don't think an Australian model of an all-out ban is the right way to go at this point.
The suggestion that there will be a ban on certain features within social media apps suggests that there needs to be some level of cooperation from the social media companies. And you started part of your first answer by saying that they haven't really done that up until this point. They talk a good game, pardon the pun, but they don't actually provide the safety measures and the features that work for parents and to keep children safe. So how is the government going to make this work?
Well, part of this will probably be built into what they're doing with the online harms bill, online safety bill. That needs to be as robust as it can be, and it needs to show that it's got given, the enforcement powers and teeth, and show that it will take action. And in fairness to Ofcom, and I'm quite balanced opinion on it, is that they are showing that they have got teeth, and I think that they will take action. But I think there's more that the government do to make it more robust. Ultimately, fines and things that are going to kind of be monetary punishments for these platforms is just the cost of doing business, and actually doesn't really hurt them. Even that, we've never seen a scale of fine that they said that they could levy. Maybe we will, and that will make things different. But at the moment, it's going to be they're going to have to make this not a voluntary option. This has got to be a mandatory thing, and show that enforcement will happen swiftly.
Yeah, Matt, I want to put a couple of things to you that Ellen and Lisa said to me last night. And one of the things is we keep hearing about Australia. The ban isn't working. Teens are finding their way around it, whether it's by VPNs, faking their age, or going to other corners of the internet, whatever people are saying. But we're only 6 months into this ban. And what the two mothers were saying to me was, a ban is essentially something to back up a parent and reinforce the message to their children that they're not allowed on social media until they're 16, much like you're not allowed to smoke. And, that took a while to take effect and become part of the culture. And while it might not be affecting children now, it certainly will be a more effective tool in the future. And that's what we're working towards, not short-term fixes, but long-term solutions.
Yeah, and I think that's a really fair point. But I think some of the stuff that's come out of the Australian changes that they've made is that the amount of children that's still able to access it through workarounds, whether it is VPNs or tricking the kind of age verification systems, it isn't robust. It is hard to enforce those levels, certainly at an app level, which is why, unsurprisingly, Meta is pushing for Apple and Google to be more responsible at a device level and manage that age gate kind of responsibility. But I think that in general, that the tackling the design of the platforms and actually how the platforms work and restricting a lot of that is a much more workable solution than
Are they
a
really
blanket
going to
ban
do
on
that?
risk
Because by the nature of design, you know, social media companies design these to be addictive, for you to spend as much time on them as possible. You get alerts in the middle of the night about a new feature or something like that. There's the auto scroll. They want you to be on there. There's power and there's money to be made by spending as much time on that as possible. That's why they were built. So I think that's why parents are pushing back and saying, look, the government's just not being realistic. They are pushing the can down the road because social media companies, because they are businesses, are not going to put children first.
Yeah, and I think that's a really fair point. And, you know, as I said at the start, I think that as a parent myself, being in that situation, I would be feeling much the same thing. I just think that there is a lot with social media that also serves teens, and actually cutting that off carte blanche and not taking care of the detail is going to be a mistake. And I think it'll be worked around. I do think that there needs to be much more enforcement and much stricter rules around the design of these platforms. And that's what you're seeing in Europe with the EU's legislation. They're pushing forward harder on some of them. Countries are banning, and some of them are working much more closely on fixing the problems of instructing the platforms without any voluntary element to it. This must change, either it's fines or you're banned in that country. And I think that direction of travel is far more suitable for the nuance and the complexities of the platforms. But I agree, kicking it down the road and it taking this long is really unacceptable. I'm surprised it has taken this long, and I think the government really should be done this years ago.
Scott, you are the expert, and as you've mentioned it, you know, Matt, I beg your pardon, as a father as well, how do you handle it? Because every parent is dealing with this. This is the new reality, and, you know, most of us didn't have this when we were growing up. So as an expert, Matt, and as a parent, how are you navigating this?
It's really hard. And one of the things that I find most frustrating about Meta's platforms and others is that it sometimes feel that they kick it to the parents to manage and seem to sort of say, we've given you some tools to help you limit and restrict the platform for your teens. You know, we're doing our bit. And I think that that is really unfair on parents, because many parents are not tech savvy, and those that are have very busy lives and complex relationships with their teens at times. It's a tricky time as a parent of having teens myself, but I certainly do try my best to restrict the times of the day, you know, limiting it closer to bedtime, using some of the controls on Apple's phone to restrict screen time, being able to converse with my teens about their use of social media, and when things happen that are problematic, that they know that they can talk to me. But I don't think it's fair that the platforms expect the parents to just use the tools and that's that, you know, absolved of their liability. And I think that for me as a parent is the bit that I don't like. And I think that's why more enforcement and more focus on the design of the platforms and limiting that much more harshly could be more effective than a blanket ban.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see where the government lands on this one, because the Prime Minister promising those bereaved families yesterday that there will be an announcement within a matter of weeks. Matt, good to have your expertise on the show tonight. That's Matt Navarro, their social media consultant and industry analyst. Thank you. A 12-year-old boy who died after getting into difficulty in the River Ribble in Lancashire has been named as Junior Slater. He is one of 9 people across the UK and Ireland to have died after accidents in open water during the heat wave that's been gripping the UK over the last few days. Well, Sky's Molly Malone joins me now. And unfortunately this week, Molly, this has been a familiar tale, but every life that is lost is somebody's loved one, and that was very much put into focus tonight with what his parents had to say following the news.
Yeah, you're right, but this has been 8 young people across the last few days in these extreme weather conditions. Sadly, the number of people that have lost their lives during this heat wave in open water-related incidents. So to be clear, that's lakes or seas, people getting into difficulty in those types of waters has been on the rise. Recently, as you say, 8 young people across the UK and Ireland. So that's between the ages of 12 and 17, as well as a man in his 60s. As you say, 9 people in total have lost their lives, many in open water related incidents. Now, 3 of those victims have been named, as one of them 12-year-old Junior Slater. I'm going to read you a tribute from his family. They said, "Our little blue-eyed boy, he will be describe how we are feeling right now. We will love you forever, Junior. Now, he got into difficulty in the River Ribble in Lancashire, but the authorities are warning, really, about these types of conditions, because clearly we've got these extreme temperatures. Yesterday was the hottest May day ever recorded in the UK, and people might assume getting into the water is safe to do so because of these extreme temperatures, but you've got the authorities like the police, like the RNLI, basically warning that just because it feels boiling hot, the actual correlation of the water temperatures isn't the same. So actually people can perhaps be suffering from cold water shock because it takes a little bit of a long time for those water temperatures to rise. And clearly people are worried as well, because the NHS have said that in recent days they've seen a surge of people going onto their websites to try and seek out safe water advice, safe heat advice. Now, it is supposed to, bar tomorrow actually, get a little bit cooler sort of over the course of the weekend. For example, yesterday it was 35 degrees in London. Today it's 27, but there are still health alerts in place for large parts of England until 5 o'clock tomorrow. And actually we've also seen and heard the Met Office issue yellow weather warnings for thunderstorms in parts of southern England and Wales from actually between 3 o'clock this afternoon until midnight. So the picture is changing, but really serious conditions. 9 people losing their lives across the UK and Ireland in open water related incidents, getting into difficulty basically in seas and in lakes.
OK, Molly, thank you. Molly Malone with details of that story there. Thank you. The prosecution has opened its case in the sexual offences trial of Sir Geoffrey Donaldson. 2 women claim they were subjected to difficult and traumatic incidents when they were children. The 63-year-old former DUP leader denies 18 alleged historical sexual offences. Sky's Sania Chowdhury has more, and a warning that you may find some of the details of these allegations distressing.
The prosecution today opened its case against Geoffrey Donaldson in Newry Crown Court. It was just after 2 p.m. when the list of sexual assault charges, including rape, were read out in court. There were 18 offences in total. The Crown barrister told jurors that 2.5 years ago, 2 women, who will be referred to as Witness A and Witness B, came forward to report difficult and traumatic incidents to police. They allege that between 1985 and 2008, when they were children, Geoffrey Donaldson sexually abused them. The prosecution told the court that Witness B remembers 2 incidents vividly. She alleges that Geoffrey Donaldson would put his hands in her pants a lot. The first incident was prior to her starting secondary school. She claims that Donaldson touched her chest and put his fingers inside her genitals. He then pushed her legs apart and continued to sexually assault her. She said she felt sick the next day. She said in a second vivid incident, Geoffrey Donaldson pulled her top up and began to feel her chest. She claims Eleanor Donaldson walked into the room, saw what was happening, and then she shut the door and walked away. The court heard that when she was a teenager, Witness B told a friend at a Christian centre about the abuse. Sometime later, a meeting was set up between Witness B and Geoffrey Donaldson by an adult at the centre. And it was during this meeting the court heard that Geoffrey Donaldson wanted to apologise to Witness B about what happened in the past. The meeting was described by Witness B as weird and surreal. Jurors also heard a summary of Witness A's allegations against Geoffrey Donaldson. She alleges that he put his hands up her top, would have been physical with her, and commented on the size of her breasts. Witness A also alleges that Donaldson kissed her inappropriately, that he put his tongue in her mouth, and when she complained, he said that it was a joke. She claims it wasn't until she was older that she realised that sort of behaviour was not normal. Eleanor Donaldson was not present in court today, nor is she expected to attend at any point. She's facing a trial of the facts and is accused of aiding and abetting her husband. She was found mentally unfit to stand trial and therefore will not be participating in these proceedings. Both deny the charges against them, and the trial at Newry Crown Court is set to continue.
Andy Burnham has accused Tony Blair of failing to understand what's going on in people's lives and underestimating the impact of inequality. It comes after the former Labour leader accused the current government of having no coherent plan for the country and saying the party is playing with fire. He also urged Labour not to move to the left and to embrace the radical centre. Our political correspondent Alex Rogers joins me now with more details about what Tony Blair had to say and the response.
Yes, so as you say, Sarah-Jane, Andy Burnham, possible leadership contender in the race that's not officially started yet, has just responded to Tony Blair in an interview with the Observer. He says that the centre ground let people down and failed them, and that's why people are flocking to populist parties and being courted by them. And as you say, the word that he really seized upon that Blair failed to mention, he says, is inequality. And this is what he said in the interview. He said, if you don't get how that's driving politics now, if you are not rooting your analysis in the fact that people are unable to live and that things that were taken for granted are no longer affordable, then you are not understanding what's going on. Now, interestingly, we've had an almost identical pitch from Wes Streeting, the former health secretary, in The Guardian. He makes a very similar point to Andy Burnham. He says the striking weakness at the heart of Tony Blair's intervention is that across thousands of words about technology, geopolitics and political strategy, the defining issue of our age is barely confronted at all. Inequality, the economic, social and democratic fracture running through modern Britain, is treated as peripheral rather than fundamental. And another point he says is when people believe the rules no longer reward effort fairly, resentment grows, and resentment never remains politically homeless for long. So clearly both of these two would-be leadership candidates pitching to the left. That's where Labour Party members are, and that's where the union vote is. They also are clearly very mindful of the threat posed by the insurgent Green Party. We've been hearing from the party leader Zach Polanski today about his views on Tony Blair's intervention. I think we can take a listen to what he had to say.
Well, I think it was 5,600 words too many. Tony Blair is a former Prime Minister that dragged this country into an illegal war in Iraq. And I think it's pretty grotesque to see him selling the future of our children and grandchildren down the river through the kind of climate delay tactics, talking down clean energy and the security that we need. And I just don't think this is a sensible intervention in a day where we're speaking in these extreme temperatures, to have someone who should hold a position of responsibility or a former position of responsibility to be speaking like this.
There are people in the Labour Party that think that Zach Polanski is the winner from all of this. He's able to continue to pitch himself as the insurgent new party of the left, while pointing to Labour as an old party that's riven by factionalism and fresh infighting.
Alex, thank you. Says come on the UK tonight, we'll be discussing how to heat and cool our homes as energy bills continue to rise. Also coming up, the fraudsters targeting innocent motorists with a significant rise in incidents on our roads. And is the new Bond game the start of a new 007 strategy for Amazon? What's the best thing about being a Sky News presenter? Perfect. Let's bring you some breaking news. Being a Sky News presenter. I began by asking...
Thank you so much.
...trusting us to tell her story. The battle for number 10. Sky News has been given exclusive access. Let me give you a sneak peek. It was the day those present would never forget. Why did you decide to open up and tell your story? Now, as the UK basks in the hottest ever May days on record this week, the heat wave has sparked a national conversation about how we build our homes. The Conservatives say that they would reverse the ban on air conditioning being installed in new build houses, a ban which was introduced by them in 2021. And with energy bills set to go up again, how should we heat and cool the homes of the future? Well, I'm joined now by Gary Clark. He is the Deputy Chair of the Construction Industries Council's Climate Change Committee, and he's also the Managing Director of HKS Architects. Gary, really good to have you in the studio tonight. I should point out it's nice and air-conditioned, given that it's a glass box, which would, make it the worst thing to be in on a sunny, hot day, as we've been sort of muddling our way through. I want to talk about that headline from the Conservatives. They're going to allow new build homes to have aircon. A very simple headline and a very simple solution, it seems. But we can be cleverer than that, can't we?
I think so. I think the timing is interesting, and the rush to unpick what they did back in 2021 is interesting. I think the main thing here is it's the passive cooling, and the building regulations we do now is all designed to actually take the pressure off expensive mechanical systems, which actually is going to add extra cost to cooling our homes and buildings. So we really need to kind of work and use the buildings sort of strategy, the passive strategy, to do most of the heavy lifting. So that actually a well-designed building using very timeless principles. Maybe we need to use more Southern European architectural principles as well in a future climate. But if we do that correctly, it's kind of shading, external shading. The thing that's missing, I think, in a lot of the new builds, which are lightweight, lots of glass, is thermal mass. So that's the bit that's missing. So we need the thermal mass to kind of stabilise the temperatures, and that allows...
What do you mean by thermal mass?
Thermal mass is basically it's blockwork or brickwork or concrete, generally with a kind of plaster finish. It's going back a little bit in terms of the way we construct buildings. But what happens is then that creates a more stable core temperature. And then you night ventilate. So again, at ventilation, you want to close up your building during the day. And I think that's what I'd advise everyone to do in this heat wave. And really let the kind of the cooler air at night to cool the building. You cool the structure, and then you close up. And that actually keeps the temperature quite stable over the years.
It's interesting how you say we need to go back to older methods of construction and building. There's a reason why people say they don't build them like they used to. But sort of talk me through a home of the future, because as we know now, people are in shared accommodation. So many more people are living in high-rise buildings, flats, and as you said, a lot of glass and things like that. But talk me through how, if you were to build the perfect accommodation for this future climate, because the heat's only going to go up, what would it look like and what would it have to have? OK, so the first thing is we just actually had a meeting with the Climate Change Committee. This is the government body advising on sort of carbon reduction this morning. And what they're sort of saying is the temperature we're seeing this week, we can expect sort of 45 degrees centigrade in the southern England for over a week. This is going to happen every couple of years. And it might happen a couple of times a year. A couple of times. So really, it's all going to be even worse than it is just now. So we need to be prepared. So the future really is taking clues from the history, really. So in terms of the Southern Europe approach, which is then we need to really have more heavyweight buildings. So we need to go back a little bit. Rather than throwing things up in terms of lightweight construction, we need to take a step back and really think about thermal mass. How do we do this? Then it's about the right proportion of glazing. There's a bit too much glass in some of our modern housing. So we need to get that balance of, we call it glazing ratio. So again, we only need about 20% of the facade to be glass. And then we add that shading, external shading. And if you do all that, then we then... External shading can come from planting trees. Yes, exactly. So, so you need to kind of plant trees for the city, and then you need to add shading to the outside of the building. So we need to go
You know, when you go on holiday in southern Europe, you see the external shades.
Yeah.
They're drawn during the day. So we need to adapt that approach really to what we're doing here. If you do all that, then you fine-tune the final bit with some mechanical systems. So either you do that in terms of passive house, you can do it by thermal recovery, and there's lots of passive house buildings built now which actually are very highly insulated, but with thermal mass. They control the temperature quite naturally. But if you need extra cooling, then I think the current regulations still say that you can put air conditioning in if you need to. But really, what I advise people is think about heat pumps. The heat pumps work in reverse. They're really efficient. So actually, you can actually cool your building with a heat pump, ironically.
Yeah, and just remind us how a heat pump works, because we hear a lot about those, and I know that a lot of people... You know, I'm a big fan of grand designs, and it's one of the things that's often mentioned when somebody's building a house, a heat pump. So it's cost-saving as well, isn't it, in terms of how it's designed and how it works?
Yeah, so the initial upfront cost is the barrier just now.
Yeah.
So again, it's £7,500 to £10,000 for a home installation.
Why subsidies are needed, perhaps.
So but just for the, but again, if we remove the subsidies, that'd be interesting to see once it's mature, like the solar PV, the prices might come down a little bit. So, but effectively, it's like a fridge. So in reverse. So basically the pump at the back is just compressing a gas, and then that sort of cools the inside of the fridge. And obviously the reverse of that is actually heat comes out the back. So effectively you're doing that for a heat pump. So you're cooling the outside, and then the heat comes inside for a heat pump. But you can reverse it. So actually you can cool the inside like a fridge, and then obviously that's adding heat outside. So.
And obviously we're talking about new homes. But let's face it, most people are going to be living in existing buildings. What kind of things need to be done to future-proof those homes? Because, I know, for example, in my house this week, we were doing everything we could. It's a relatively new build house, but it was hotter than it was outside. Yeah, so how do you change that?
Yeah, so the so the new building is actually a fraction of what the problem is. We've got most of the buildings that we're going to be occupying in the next 50 years are already built. So we need to adapt what we've got now. So we need to really start that conversation. As I said, if you divide things into pre-100 years ago, so I think more heavyweight buildings are easily adaptable, but the new buildings, in terms of your new kind of lightweight buildings, you've really got to think about the glazing. So if you've got anywhere south or west-facing glass is the worst, you've got to put some external shading on that. So it's either heavy films or plants, or actually external sort of shades, if your landlord allows you. And then it's about getting your ventilation right in terms of opening up at night, but then really kind of closing down during the day. So it's all prepping that. And that's what I've been doing, obviously everybody's doing as well. So you need to kind of shade during the day, close up, and then ventilate at night. OK,
well, as we said, these hotter temperatures are going to become more frequent as the years go on, so it's important for people to look at those longer-term solutions. And like you said, not all of them insanely expensive, just takes a bit of, time and planning. And Gary, really good to have your expertise in the studio tonight. Gary Clark there, Deputy Chair of the Construction Industry Council's Climate Change Committee and MD of HKS Architects. As still to come on the programme, resident doctors have announced another strike in June. We'll have the details of that for you. And crashes for cash, the rise in fraudsters targeting innocent drivers.
An interview that lasted nearly 5 minutes. We talked about Prime Minister Starmer. We talked about the special relationship with who, he said. It was a jam-packed interview. I'll tell you what he told me, and I'll explain why you can't hear the call.
I'm Mark Stone, and I'm Sky's correspondent based here in Washington, D.C.
Have you seen what Donald Trump's been up to? In the Rose Garden, in the East Wing.
100 days in and back with the grassroots of this MAGA movement.
It feels a little bit like he's a king, not a president.
He is a king.
I've witnessed the remarkable passion for politics here, but the anger too.
Everything in America feels kind of torn in two right now, and it has been an intense few weeks for Minneapolis.
How many more people have to die?
This is not America.
A large and growing protest movement. They're vocal and they're angry.
Are these immigration raids?
unbelievable we've come to this.
We just arrived in Doha, just ahead of President Trump, and look at that. The horse-backed military, and beyond them, the skyline of a city transformed.
There seems to be some sort of a shooting, what appear to be shots fired at the White House Correspondents' Dinner.
What do America's Christian faithful make of the president's pop at the Pope?
The ones that vote for him are going to vote for him through thick and thin.
Before anybody criticizes the Pope, they need to think more than twice.
Mark Stone from Sky News. Will you stop buying Russian energy? Is there any assurance for Palestinian self-determination? Of course. It's a big shift by President Trump.
This post of Trump, it's a big shift. It's a big shift. It's very positive.
Sky News, the full story first.
The best thing about being a Sky News journalist? I'm going to take you behind the scenes here for Election Night Live. They have gone up and up. Big Sky News journalist. Ed Conway, Sky News, is anyone going to talk to us? Mortgage rates did go up very sharply during your time in office. Here it is. First off, just the scale of what we're looking at. Our data shows it's been happening. Question is why it hasn't been stopped.
Resident doctors in England are going to go on strike again from the middle of next month. The announcement from the BMA follows the union's first talks with the new Health Secretary, James Murray. Walkouts will start at 7 in the morning on Monday, June the 15th, and they will come to an end on the Friday of that week, which is the 19th of June. The new Health Secretary has condemned the plans as unreasonable.
I don't want to beat about the bush. We are facing a genuine crisis in medicine from a workforce perspective at the minute. I think it's absurd that we are talking about literally hundreds, if not thousands, of doctors actively looking to leave the NHS in just a few weeks. We're saying we can look to avoid that by offering jobs, bringing jobs onto the market, giving people more secure employment, and crucially valuing them for the work that they're doing.
The offer on the table for this year is as far as we're going to go. It's 4.9% on average increase, over 7% for some of the lowest paid. And to be clear, that's on top of a 28.9% increase over the last 3 years. I think most people would see that as being a very good offer, and going any further is simply unaffordable and not realistic. When it comes to other aspects of the offer, as I made clear to the Resident Doctors Committee today, my door is open to discussing that to make sure we can do the best for resident doctors across the country.
There's a warning today that fraudsters are deploying new tactics that force motorists to collide with them in a rising number of crash-for-cash scams. The Insurance Fraud Bureau says more and more motorists are being affected by deliberate crashes caused by scammers who want to claim compensation by blaming innocent drivers. The organisation received more than 9,400 reports of insurance fraud last year, which is the highest annual figure on record. Earlier, I spoke to Intelligence and Investigations Manager at the Insurance Fraud Bureau, John Davies.
Well, looking at the figures from the Association of British Insurers, they think this has increased by 12% on their figures based in 2024 compared to 2023. So it does indeed seem to be an increasing issue, and there's a risk to members of the public, particularly these hotspot postcode areas, that they could fall victims of fraud.
Yeah, just looking at some of the hotspots, we're looking at central London, Barking and Dagenham, which is in the London Borough, and also Birmingham as well. How easy is it to spot these kind of scams as a driver and as an insurance company?
Well, the reason we do these hotspots is to make members of the public aware of the signs that they've been a victim of insurance fraud. So from a crash for cash perspective, if the drivers around you acting erratically, perhaps speeding up, slamming on their brakes, we've also seen individuals being waved out at side roads and being driven into. We want to raise public awareness of that so that members of the public will understand if they've been a victim, prevent themselves being a victim of fraud, and can report it to us via the cheat line anonymously. From an insurance industry perspective, they've invested heavily in counter-fraud technology and ourselves at the Insurance Fraud Bureau. So it's very much a collective fight that we want to work together with members of the public, with law enforcement, and bring these fraudsters to justice.
Yeah, so if you are involved in a collision of any kind and something doesn't feel right, what are the red flags to look out for?
If you have been involved in a crash, it can be quite a traumatic situation. So take a moment just to try and calm down, take an assessment of your surroundings. What we do advise members of the public is if you can make a note of what's happened, the location, the drivers, any passengers, witnesses. That could just be writing it down, but if you feel safe to do so, take images or footage of that. And then if you are concerned, do raise that with your insurer and also to the Insurance Fraud Bureau via our cheat line. And if you do feel that you are in danger, do contact the police via 101 or 999.
What are some of the more brazen scenarios you've come across?
We've seen a lot of roundabouts being used, so cars will drive out, slam their brakes, which is really quite dangerous if you think of some of the speeds that cars are going around these roundabouts. As I've mentioned, the side roads, flagging people out and deliberately driving into them. These are really dangerous situations where people can get injured. So it's certainly not a victimless crime. People can get hurt with this activity.
Still to come on the UK Tonight, what the new James Bond video game could tell us about Amazon's new strategy for 007. And in sport, the England player who could be on his way to Barcelona.
Big stories don't always come from big cities. I'm Lisa Dowd and I'm Sky's Midlands correspondent.
You are not getting in this elevator, okay?
The judge made it very clear that she could see no justifiable reason why Sakoulas wasn't here facing British justice.
I promised I would get him justice.
Free, wherever you get your news. This is what they're up against. The wind is the really big problem. It is back-breaking work and the smoke is thick. It's been working well. Water levels are dropping, but no one knows what impact further rain will have. What would you do if this place wasn't open? This is the exact spot in Nottingham where their 19-year-old son, Barnaby Webber, lost his life.
I just think it's so cruel and so harsh.
It's really scary. We're terrified.
In this community, I'm told that everybody knows someone affected by COVID.
Hopefully this will be the last wave.
Sky News gets the full story first. Change seems tantalisingly close in this corner of the UK. Wales was the first to introduce the plastic bag charge. It's legal to let go. Set the speed and take the hands off. It's almost driverless, but not quite. Hans is a highly trained police dog. The force is incredible. It's really frightening, actually. This is my patch, my specialism. It's also my home.
We've got your Sunday mornings covered. From the front page and the sounds of the streets to the voices of the people who make the major calls and big picture politics beyond Westminster. We'll put you at the heart of our story. I'm ready. Are you? Join me, Trevor Phillips, Sunday mornings on Sky News.
Coming up next, we will take a look at the new James Bond video game and try and figure out what it could tell us about the future of 007 under Amazon's ownership, because, of course, they've taken over the franchise now and they're looking for a new James Bond. Right, let's talk to Jess. She's here with a look at the sport. Hello.
Hello.
Right, the Premier League only finished 5 minutes ago, but we're well into transfer season, aren't we? The summer transfer season, and it looks like the first bit of big news could be about to break.
Yeah, this is a really exciting one. So, England winger Anthony Gordon looks like he's leaving Newcastle. They've agreed a deal with Barcelona. It's a deal worth just shy of £70 million. It's big money. There was interest from a few others, including Bayern Munich, but it looks like Barcelona are going to be the ones to win his signature. He's such an exciting talent, so fun to watch. I don't know if you've seen him running up and down the wing for Newcastle, SJ, but he's brilliant to watch. So fast, a penalty specialist as well. Scores goals for fun, and in fact was Newcastle's top goal scorer last season with 17 goals. So a big loss for them, but it looks like he's on his way out. He'll have his medical in Barcelona tomorrow.
And can we just take a moment for that headline at the bottom there, Gordon's transfer alive. Somebody was having fun in our team with that one.
Slow news day?
You know, they had a bit of time on their hands this afternoon, it would seem, but they feel very pleased with themselves that they came up with that one.
The giggling in my ear right now is brilliant.
Raucous laughter, pats on the back all round. So I had to point it out. But just the number of English players sort of playing their football now, their club football across Europe, the number's getting bigger, isn't it?
Yeah.
Of course, we've got the World Cup coming up. It all feeds into that, doesn't it, club and country?
It does, it really does. And I think a lot of players are looking for something new, fresh opportunities, perhaps. We've seen Jude Bellingham move to Real Madrid. We've seen Harry Kane go to Bayern Munich and break records left, right and centre. Jarell Quansah, who's also been named in the England squad, has moved to Bayer Leverkusen. Also, Marcus Rashford, who's already at Barcelona on loan from Manchester United. And with this Anthony Gordon deal, it just makes you wonder about Rashford's future and what could be next for him, because it looks as though Barcelona are bringing in Gordon to replace Rashford. And unless Barcelona want to spend some money this summer and buy Rashford, he will go back to Manchester United this summer. So anyway, the headline is Anthony Gordon, another English talent, moving to Europe.
OK, thanks, Jess.
Thank you. You're up to date on the transfer news, but it's a big night of football, which I'll update you on in just a couple of minutes.
We're here at Silverstone to see if Alpine's Franco Colapinto can pick which of these 5 drivers is the real professional.
So the idea is we're going to do hot laps and then we're going to have a race.
Is it karting drivers or like...
Professional driver.
Professional driver, not karting.
No, not karting.
Can you show me their faces?
It's a mixture of ages.
Okay.
No, I can't show you their faces because you might recognise one of them.
Green flag, green flag.
Vamos!
Has he got wet or is slicks?
I think they're
slicks. Oh my god.
Right.
Slicks in the wet. That's proper English, huh?
That's how we do it at Silverstone.
Actually, really good lines, eh? It's quite tricky with the slicks on the wet or what?
So what do we think of him or her?
Oh, we've got girls?
Yes, we have girls.
Okay, we got Amy. Hit the curve? No curve. Oh, a bit wide. Hit the curve, come on.
I mean, actually, I don't think you need this right now. You can just talk.
No, this is quite cool, eh?
I got
Oh, a bit of oversteer.
Okay.
The Alpine is better than that. Oh, sliding.
Right, so what do we make of this one so far? Driver number 1, what do we think?
Nah, he's not a pro. The pro would be like this on the straight. I would.
What do we make of the second?
Oh, this guy. He tucked in, eh?
Okay.
You see, he did what the coach said. He's got some nice boots.
Yeah?
The boots, are they given by the track? No, no?
Yeah.
They are personal.
Yeah, yeah, well, that could be a giveaway, couldn't it?
Oh. Police. Police, police. Oh, the body. It's gonna follow the car.
And now we have a new James Bond, not in cinemas, but in a video game, with 007 First Light released today. Many believe it could mark the start of a new strategy from Amazon in their takeover of the franchise. Our arts and entertainment correspondent, Katie Spencer, has the details. Oh, and just to warn you, it does contain flash photography throughout.
The name's Gibson, Patrick Gibson. There's a new James Bond in town, while fans are still waiting to hear who'll take over from Daniel Craig in the films. For the last 5 years, the Irish actor has had to hide the fact it's his voice and physical likeness in the new 007 video game, which he almost managed.
Yeah, you wouldn't want to be the one to spill the beans.
Except to moms.
Yes, of course. Yeah. All moms have clearance on official secrets.
It's a massive gaming launch, but does this also mark Amazon's soft launching its 007 takeover? While Gibson managed to keep his casting under wraps, his motion capture suit wasn't quite the glamour he'd had in mind.
Seeing yourself, you know, kind of strolling into a big gala wearing a tuxedo when you're really in like a grey sock was a challenge.
For gamers, the release of 007 First Light is a big deal. But look, even if you're not into games, it's worth exploring some of the behind-the-scenes gameplay here, because the concept is a first. It's an origin story game which is clever. It means by creating a standalone Bond gaming universe, for the first time, they're not restricted to what's happening in the films. Of course, there's been a lot of focus on who might be best placed to take over from Daniel Craig in the films, with Amazon confirming auditions are underway. Callum Turner, Harris Dickinson and Jacob Elordi all getting a lot of mentions in the press. But for the first time, what happens here at Pinewood Studios, the spiritual home of the James Bond franchise, isn't the be-all and end-all for Amazon. Yes, almost every 007 has been shot here since the series began, and Denis Villeneuve's cinematic incarnation really has to start shooting here soon, given that it's out in 2028. But the launch of a James Bond video game that's not tied to the narrative of the films is quite telling. Because it isn't just the launch of a new video game. It's a stress test for how Bond fits into Amazon's constantly expanding content-making ecosystem.
There's a huge amount of reverence around the IP, and we've been working very closely with MGM turning into Amazon, so it's been a very close collaboration throughout.
In reality, this game was in production way before Amazon struck its deal with the Broccoli family for full creative control of the franchise. But if fans embrace the game, industry insiders believe this could mark the beginning of a new 007 strategy, moving towards a world of interconnected releases, spin-off side characters, as well as more movies. Katie Spencer, Sky News.
Dinner under the stars tonight?
That reminds me of our travel insurance.
You mean All Clear Skies?
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors Sky News weather.
Well, the heat's building again for the south tomorrow, but we won't beat yesterday's record. Temperatures will then gradually drop, returning to near average by Sunday. Most places will be fine and warm this evening, but there'll be a few lively thunderstorms over England and Wales.
All Clear Travel Insurance proudly sponsors Sky News weather.